Hello everyone, glad to be back. Today is 15th of May now, it's almost 2 o'clock, middle of the day by Moscow time. I'm Levan Gudadze and this is my first update today in which I will share all the main news that are making headlines in Russian media outlets and Russian language pages on different internet platforms. There are quite a few very significant developments and news that I'd like to share with you for this moment. But before I start, let me say thank to all of you for your time, attention and support. I have good news to share with you before I start about politics and conflicts and elections and the rest of it. And good news is that yesterday late afternoon, our channel did reach 10,000 subscriber level, which is a huge milestone for me personally and for this channel, of course. And I want to thank all of you for this, because it's because of you that this channel has any subscribers at all. So our community is growing little by little, but yes, we are moving forward, and hopefully I will be able to not just improve my presentation style and my English, but also significantly improve channel itself, develop channel in a better way. And in future, fortunately, I will have opportunity to create some additional content, maybe not just about news and politics, but there are so many interesting topics that can be shared with the audience worldwide. So thank you very much. I am truly grateful for your time, support and attention. Thank you. That's been said, let's talk about news now, and I will start with Turkey and elections, presidential and parliamentary elections that take place in this country yesterday. All the votes have been counted for this moment, and the latest official numbers are as follows. Erdogan, current president of Turkey, received 49.35% of votes, and the main opposition candidate, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, received 45% of votes, because no one candidate received more than 50% of votes. That means that there will be second tour of presidential elections, and it will take place on 28th of May. So on that day, we will probably learn who will be next Turkish president. And this is very significant and very important, because Turkey is a very significant state. And if Erdogan will stay in power, probably not that much will change. Turkey will improve its relationships probably with Russia, with other BRICS nations, and also with the neighboring countries, maybe with the exception of Greece, because as you know, Turkey and Greece have quite difficult relationships for decades and even centuries. So it will take some miracle to improve, significantly improve relationships between these two countries. But when it comes to other neighbors of Turkey, with Erdogan, relationships may remain on working good conditions or even improve. But if opposition candidate will become president of Turkey, then my prediction is that the relationships between Turkey and Russia will probably deteriorate significantly. Maybe same will happen even between the Turkey and Azerbaijan, even though right now these two countries are strategic partners, in my understanding. And yes, I mean, Turkey will become one more colony of the Washington and London, and will act accordingly with the globalist agenda and Western orders. That's my take. I may be mistaken, because yesterday I did see some comments in comment sections from our friends that know better than me internal politics of Turkey, and they said that this opposition candidate is not really Russophobic or anti-Russian element. And there was some comment that he did some mistakes when he was talking about Russia in negative manner, but after all, this main candidate, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, has support from globalists and Western elites. And if you have support of Western elites, then you cannot be trusted. Because Western elites, in my understanding, and the puppets are main danger for entire world. If they are supporting someone, then something is wrong with that someone. That's my take on it, to put it in simple perspective. So, enemies of my enemies are my friends. That's how sometimes this works. And if Erdogan has difficult relationships with globalists and Western elites, then he is becoming, if not friend, at least situational ally, let's say this way. And we should admit that relationships between Russia and Turkey, for example, are in a quite good state right now. And it will be sad if this opposition candidate will win and these relationships will collapse or deteriorate. But anyway, let's see what will happen on 28th of May. Let me continue now. And this is RIA Novosti's report, according to which Chinese special representative will visit Li Hui, will visit Kiev, visit Ukraine for 2 days from 16th to 17th of May, and he will try to create ground for possible future peaceful negotiations between Russia and Ukraine. Of course, this step from Beijing is very noble, and everyone should be in support of this kind of steps in the direction of peace. But unfortunately, I had to repeat myself and say that as long as Washington and London are not willing to talk about peace, and they are definitely not willing, they are constantly escalating with Russia. As long as this continues, I think peace has no chance in Ukraine. But once Washington and London will change their approach, when they will start talking about peace, then we will probably see peaceful negotiations, not before that. And to be honest, Washington and Moscow, only Washington and London, only will talk about peace if Moscow will achieve some decisive victories on the battlefield. That's how I see this picture anyway. Let me continue. And this morning, unfortunately, Lugansk was struck again. Lugansk is the capital of Lugansk People's Republic, and according to Russian media outlets, Zelensky's terrorist and Nazi regime, did use Storm Shadow long-range cruise missiles again to target Lugansk. And even though Russian Defense Ministry did report that in previous 24 hours they did shut down one Storm Shadow missile, it looks like this morning at least Russian air defense systems did not work on Lugansk direction, did not work as effectively as I would like. And building of former aviation school, as I understand, was hit and significantly damaged. We don't have information about casualties for this moment, but according to some independent Telegram channels, it was Russian military personnel that was located in that area. But yet again, there is no official information about casualties and no official information about who was in that buildings or in that area. Military personnel or civilians or students. So probably during the day we will receive some additional information, and of course I will share it on my Telegram channel. And by the way, this is, yes, I already shared with you information that according to Russian Defense Ministry, Russian Air Force in previous 24 hours did shut down 1 Storm Shadow cruise missile and 10 HIMARS missiles, and also 21 drones, different type of drones. Let me continue, and we have statements from Denis Pushilin. This is TASS News Agency's report, and Denis Pushilin, head of DPR, Donetsk People's Republic, did said that Russian forces, Russian side in Bakhmut, in Artyomovsk, did manage to conduct successful offensive operations, and now only dozens of buildings are left under control of high-rise buildings are under control of Zelensky's regime in western corner of this city. Let me show you this area. Of course, this pro-Ukrainian map is not acknowledging any Russian successful operations, but we are talking about this area here, so-called Citadel, and as I understand, according to latest data, PMC Wagner units are almost fully controlling these high-rise buildings on this part of the Citadel, and basically what is left is like 10-15 high-rise buildings left, and this private sector area here. I don't know how long it will take for PMC Wagner units to establish full control over the Bakhmut, but as I understand, if you take a look on the map, you may think that main goal for recent local-scale offensive operations of Zelensky's regime in Bakhmut direction was to widening this gap between Bakhmut and Chisov Yar, to establish full control over these roads that are connecting Bakhmut and Chisov Yar, and to have opportunity to not just reinforce Bakhmut garrison, but also to withdraw Bakhmut garrison from city without high risk of direct Russian fire or Russian artillery fire. They did achieve this goal, but not just that, but they also basically secure, at least on some level, highway between Chisov Yar and Konstantinovka also. And even though some Telegram channels are reporting that during the previous 24 hours, Ukrainian forces were continuing to conduct some local-scale operations, offensive operations in Bakhmut direction, overall situation, in my reading, is that Russian side did stabilize front line, and you know, to be honest, I have more reasoning now to think that maybe my prediction was correct that I made a few days ago, and maybe there was truly was some negotiations behind the scene between Kiev and Moscow, and maybe Kiev demanded from Moscow this maybe Kiev demanded from Moscow to have an opportunity to withdraw its forces from Bakhmut safely, and in return, maybe Zelensky's regime did promise Moscow to reopen, for example, this ammonium pipeline that goes from Russia to through Ukraine, and by which Russia was exporting ammonium for billions and billions of dollars annually. So maybe that's the case, and if, let's say, before end of this week, for example, Bakhmut garrison will withdraw, and if in few days after that, Zelensky's regime will reopen this pipeline of ammonium, in my understanding, that will be good enough indicators that my prediction was correct. Maybe this behind-the-scene negotiations was about some other topics also, but maybe there was no negotiations. After all, my reading of big picture may be wrong. But let's see how situation will develop. When it comes to summary of overall developments on the front line, Kherson region is usual stuff, artillery duels between the sides. Same goes for Zaporozhye region, Donetsk direction, artillery duels and close range combat, especially in the direction of Marinka and Avdiivka. Bakhmut, of course, is a hot point. Seversk artillery duels, and one significant difference that we can notice from previous days is that Russian and Ukrainian side are not just conducting artillery shelling of each other in Kupyansk direction, but we are seeing close range combat fight also, which is I would not say unheard of, but this kind of stuff is at least not happening on daily basis. There are some activization of on Kupyansk direction, and it's noticeable. It's noticeable. So that's it, really. Let me continue with some other news now, and we have statement from Macron. By the way, yesterday, as I reported in my first update, Zelensky was in Germany. He had some meeting with Scholz. Before that, in previous day, he was in Italy. He also had some meetings there. And yesterday afternoon, Zelensky went to France after Germany. He had some talks with the French president. And today he is in London. And he already had a meeting with the Prime Minister of UK, Sunak. As I understand, I did share a few minutes ago video about it on my Telegram channel. And yesterday, when Zelensky was in France, he received promises that France will support Ukraine to create a few more additional battalions, mechanized battalions, and for these purposes, France will transfer to Zelensky's regime ammunition and military vehicles, including IMX-10 RC light wheeled tanks, which is not really surprising, but quite unfortunate, really, because current leadership of France definitely are destroying all chances to re-establish good relationships between Russia and France for decades, really. I don't think Russia will ever trust France or France leadership for many, many years now. But when it comes to Macron itself, he made quite a strange statement, which is not something new from Macron. He all the time does make some crazy statements, but this time he was, on top of his game, because he said that Russia already lost this conflict. Because, and he did make an argument for this statement that Finland is become a part of NATO, Sweden will become part of NATO, and Russia is heavily dependent on China. These kind of statements truly highlights how stupid this individual really is, and how low level of his knowledge is about Russia and about Russian point of view on world affairs. For example, in Russia, we did not see Finland and Sweden as a neutral state since the collapse of Soviet Union, at least, because both states were acting like a part of NATO anyway. That's simple true, isn't it? And if tomorrow, not just Sweden, but if Switzerland even become part of NATO, it's not going to be a big deal for Russia, because we don't see Switzerland as a neutral state, because Switzerland is not a neutral state. They may declare that they are, but they used to be, not anymore, and entire world disagree with me. That's why Swedish banking system has some difficulties now, because they lost trust that they enjoy by acting as a neutral state for decades during the Cold War. But now, who gonna trust Switzerland's elites, man, and Switzerland's banking system? Who and why, for God's sake, and how? So it's a huge difference between Switzerland, let's say, Finland, Sweden, and Ukraine. It's a huge difference, and if Macron don't understand this, then the French citizens should think uh, deeply about what kind of people they are supporting on elections. You know, but yet again, unfortunately, this idiot is the president of France, and he is not just embarrassing France, but he is destroying relationship between France and Russia completely, and unfortunately, he is playing active role, and his government playing active role to prolong this conflict on Ukraine, which means more death and more devastation. Unfortunately, let me continue, and this is Kommersant News papers report. I already said that Zelensky today is in UK, and this report from Kommersant is exactly about this. And he already had meeting with Sunak, Prime Minister of Ukraine, and watches not Ukraine but UK, United Kingdom. And what is extremely unfortunate is that according to latest news, United Kingdom will provide Zelensky's regime with additional hundreds of surface-to-air missile systems. And not just that, but United Kingdom will deliver to Zelensky's terrorist and Nazi regime hundreds of long-range drones with range more than 200 kilometers, which is very serious stuff. And as you can see, this long-range weaponry already are making impact on the ground, and it's 3 days in a row now. For example, that Lugansk have been shelled by these Storm Shadow cruise missiles that have been delivered to Ukrainian Nazis and terrorists by the United Kingdom. So, unfortunately, these weapons deliveries will have a quite significant, serious impact on the ground. And even though we have statement here from Peskov, and by the way, also United Kingdom will open some study center to train Ukrainian pilots on Western-made fighter jets. We all know that once Western-made battle jets will be deployed in this conflict, they will be piloted by Western pilots, and they will be maintained by Western crews, but engineering crews. But these kind of statements are preparation of the ground. That's why they are announcing this kind of stuff, that they will train Ukrainian pilots, because they need plausible deniability. And once they will introduce Western fighter jets to the battlefield, they will say that it's not us, it's Ukrainian pilots. Because, I mean, just look at it. We did state that we are training Ukrainian pilots months ago, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, even though everyone understands that to learn how to fly, let's say, F-16 or French French Mirage 2000, for example, or even modern ones, Rafale fighter jets or Swedish Saab fighter jets, you need years of training. You cannot learn it in 1 month's time or 2 months' time. This is not a toy, for God's sake, or computer game. It's some much more serious stuff. And but anyway, even though Russian side, for example, spokesperson, press spokesman of current president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, said that, I'm talking about Dmitry Peskov, even though he said that Russian side condemns this latest move from UK about deliveries of these long-range missiles and stuff, Peskov says that these deliveries will not not impact this conflict, and he is wrong, basically. Peskov is definitely wrong. These weapons deliveries may not change outcome of the conflict, but these weapons definitely have impact on the ground, and more weapons Western elites are sending to Ukraine, more Russian citizens are dying. So this light take on Western weapons deliveries are creating some frustration. Really, they are not helping these kind of statements because it seems like Peskov not really understands what the heck is going on the front line. Is he even reads news? It's a 3 day in a row that Storm Shadow missiles have been used by Zelensky's terrorist regime to strike Lugansk. Does it make impact? Of course it does. Does it influence special military operation? Of course it does. Because Zelensky's terrorist regime not using those Western weapons to strike empty buildings or just fields, empty fields. They are striking, this is our precision-guided weaponry. They are striking strategic facilities, or they are striking places where Russian military equipment is based, or ammunition depots, or manpower is located. So, of course, these kind of weapon deliveries are impacting special military operation. And as I said many times before, I do strongly believe that outcome of this war will be that Russia will emerge victorious. Russia will defeat these criminal globalists and Western elites. At least I hope so. But it's not serious to take lightly these weapons deliveries from the West, because one day Moscow may end up in a situation when they will see no other way out other than use of extreme force on their own on the battlefield. And I'm talking about tactical nuclear weapons. And by the way, if you know Russian, just check Russian language pages on Telegram, for example. You're going to see many comments from ordinary Russians that already are too angry on current situation and are basically openly demanding from Kremlin nuclear weapons to be used against Zelensky's Nazi regime. So situation is truly serious, truly difficult, and me personally, I truly find it plausible that one day, because of so much weapons have been delivered to Zelensky's regime, I do think that one day Moscow may end up in a situation that they only have one option left. They have to lose this war, this conflict, or they have to use tactical nuclear weapons. Because, even Russian officials are saying that Western elites will fight before last Ukrainian. And as long as anyone in Ukraine are willing to die for Zelensky's Nazi regime and Western masters of that regime, they will have weapons and they will have money for it. Western elites will be happy to continue this conflict as long as it takes. And by the way, after all, military-industrial complex of Western states are much stronger than Russian military-industrial complex. If we are combining Western sources. And when it comes to economies, of course, Western economies are much stronger than Russian economy. So West has enough weapons and enough opportunity to create weapons, to build weapons, and has plenty of money in its disposal. They may don't have money for ordinary citizens of European states, but they have enough money to finance this war against Russia, as long as they want. So that's why, I think this new level of escalation that we see from Western elites when they are openly now delivering this long-range weaponry to Zelensky's regime may create very, very difficult situation for Russian leadership. And at some point, they will truly have just two options. They had to stop and withdraw forces from everywhere and sign peace agreement on Ukrainian or Western terms, or they will be forced to use nuclear weapons. That's how I see this picture, because these weapons, man, these are no joke. These are no joke, man. They are striking Russian positions on 200-300 kilometers away. And as I said, those missiles and those drones, they are very effective stuff, man. Very effective stuff. And I don't know why Western elites are so sure that Moscow will not use nukes. I mean, why they are risking it, but I'm getting confused, man, because after all, I mean, entire world was thinking that Russia is a second superpower in this world, and for last I don't know how many months, what we see is that Russia is on defensive. So that's why I see in comment sections on my channel so many questions about when Russia will start acting as a superpower. I don't know, really. I don't know, because I am confused about many things, as you are. Maybe even more. So, it is what it is, man. Unfortunately, we are definitely reaching a situation when Moscow will, it's only a matter of time, and Moscow will end up in a situation when it has to make very difficult choices. Very difficult choices. And all this because of this constant escalation from the Western elites. Let me continue now, and this is RIA Novosti's report. Okay, according to which, yes, Peskov, press spokesman of Russian president, also said few words about this informational campaign that Western elites has begun against head of PMC Wagner Prigozhin. As you know, lately Washington Post, this propaganda outlet, this rubbish newspaper really, is active participant in this information campaign against Prigozhin, and they did publish article according to which Prigozhin was negotiating with Ukraine's secret services, Ukraine's military intelligence, and he was promising to give them locations of Russian forces if they will withdraw from flanks of Bakhmut. Basically, Western elites want to get rid of Prigozhin, as I understand, and get rid of PMC Wagner. And in this attempt, they are trying to create this legend that Prigozhin is somehow traitor, and they want to influence relationships by this campaign. They want to influence relationships between Prigozhin and Putin. These kind of articles are not for Western public or Ukrainian public or any ordinary citizens. No, this campaign, this psychological and informational campaign is directed on Putin personally, because we all know that Putin is not really active user of internet. He is not researching, as I understand, independently anything. He is receiving information from different official institutions. One of them may be Defense Ministry, from FSB, for example, from some other institutions, and probably Western elites want that when Putin will receive some information from some of these institutions, he sees notice that that's what was published in Western media that Prigozhin has some connection with the Ukrainian secret services. That's what Western elites want. That's what this campaign is all about. To create some divide between Putin and Prigozhin, but I think this will not work if Putin is not fully isolated from this reality, because he knows Prigozhin for decades. They know each other for decades, and they can, I guess, talk to each other just any time, really. And by the way, my take on it is that also simultaneously, Western elites may be trying to, and I did write about it on my Telegram channel. I will read it for you, if I may. So, criminal Western elites, with the help of controlled media, launched an information campaign against the head of Wagner PMC, Evgeny Prigozhin, which is carried out not only and not so much by Ukrainian but the Western experts at a high level. So I think it's of course Western elites that are involved, not that much Ukrainians, because they are puppets of Western elites. So first, yesterday, a strange interview with Zelensky in the Washington Post, during which the propagandist of the newspaper allegedly accidentally said about the connections of Prigozhin and the military intelligence of Ukraine. So it was some spectacle. They did play roles there that they did say some accidentally, and then Zelensky did talk some crap that he cannot talk about some secrets and stuff. So it's set up. It's definitely set up. And now, a new publication on the main page of the same propaganda tool, I mean Washington Post, this toilet paper. The head of Wagner, according to this toilet paper, the head of Wagner offered transfer to Ukraine the places of deployment of Russian troops if they will leave flanks next to Bakhmut. So according to article, Yevgeny Prigozhin said he would tell the Ukrainian military where to attack Russian forces if they withdraw from the besieged town of Bakhmut, where Wagner fighters are successfully taking out Ukrainian Nazis and terrorists. So this information, and this is PS from me, post factum, post scriptum, this information campaign, in my opinion, aims to influence the president of Russia and drive wage between him and the Prigozhin, whom he knows personally for decades, as I just said a few minutes ago. In addition, with such a campaign to discredit Prigozhin, Washington is most likely trying to divert suspicion from its assets in the top military and possibly political leadership of Russian Federation. That's what I also think, that by this campaign, Washington and London, which is probably involved in this stuff, because probably we will see similar publications in British propaganda outlets also today or tomorrow. And I think by this campaign, these Western elites are trying not just to discredit Prigozhin, but also to divert suspicions from their assets in top military and possibly political leadership of Russian Federation. Do they have assets? Western elites, I'm 100% sure that they have. I'm not head of Russian counterintelligence, but if I was, in 1 month's time, I will prove it. It will not take even months, 1 week, and I will clear entire leadership of Russian armed forces and entire Russian elites in just 1 week. I know what I will do, but unfortunately, it's not me that are responsible for counterintelligence work. Let me continue now and I already share information about it that UK will deliver additional long-range weaponry to Zelensky's Nazi regime. And this information is RIA Novosti is reporting that NATO, in next their summit in Vilnius, will not give Ukraine passage to NATO. I mean, why this is news even? We all know that countries that are in conflict cannot become a member of NATO. So, to be honest, I don't really understand why media outlets time after time are talking about this this topic that Ukraine will not become member of NATO. It's obvious that Ukraine will not become member of NATO, but because they are publishing this kind of publications, and we are talking about main Russian media outlets, I'm sharing with you information about it. Of course, it's obvious that Ukraine will never become part of NATO. And this is going to be last news for this first update. TASS news agency is reporting that G7 countries now are working to impose some additional sanctions against Russian energy sector. Well, if there is anything left to do against Russian energy sector that West did not did, let them do it. Just let them do it, man. More these kind of crazy steps Western elites will make, more and more countries in this world will start distancing themselves from Western elites and from West as a whole. And maybe this is good stuff, because once Western societies will realize that it's them that being isolated because of the elites, maybe then majority of citizens of Western states will start asking some questions, because for now it seems like only few people in the Western states that are asking questions. 1% of society, 2, 3, 5. I don't know. I don't have poll numbers, but it seems like vast majority in Western states are just don't care, really. So once they will find themselves isolated from rest of the world, then they will probably start care about world affairs and about these crazy policies that their elites are conducting. But yes, when it comes to energy sector, this world is much bigger than Western world. This only segment that they did not sanction yet is nuclear sector, and they can sanction it also. I mean, who cares really? Maybe Hungary cares, maybe some other European countries do care about it, but rest of the world are in cool, really, when it comes to Russian nuclear technologies, and many countries won't and hoping for that Russia will build nuclear power stations there. So if Western elites want to sanction Russian nuclear sector, then let them do it. Russia will survive anyway. So, and by the way, that's a video from this meeting between Zelensky and Sunak. It's very unfortunate that UK is acting so crazy, man. UK's government is acting so crazy. They are delivering long-range missiles. Now they're going to deliver long-range strike drones. I don't know, man. I'm truly afraid that Moscow will fairly soon end up in a situation when they will have no other options other than use some extreme force. Or they may lose this conflict. Because you cannot underestimate how effective these Western weapons are. You cannot underestimate these dangers, because if you underestimate your enemy, then I mean you already lost. So let's see what will happen. Hopefully, we will not end up in global nuclear exchange, but there is almost no reasons, at least for now, to be optimistic for a future, foreseeable future of this world. That's quite unfortunate. But anyway, I hope you will find this video interesting, and if so, please hit that like button, leave some commentary about any topic you like, and if you can, please share links to my videos with your friends on Telegram, Twitter, Facebook, or any other platform that you are active on. That will probably greatly increase my chances to reach wider audience. And if you think this channel is interesting, useful, and deserves to exist in this field of news and political commentary, please consider to support with small donations through PayPal, Buy Me Coffee, or by subscribing to my Patreon page. I will be very grateful for your attention and support. That's been said, yes, this is it for now. Once again, let me thank all of you for your time and attention and support. It was great. It was a great milestone that we reached yesterday afternoon. 10,000 subscribers. I mean, it's huge deal. Now we are big channel among small ones. We are still, of course, tiny channel compared to these huge names in the game. But when it comes to small channels, we are now not big but noticeable, I will say, which is good. I don't really want this channel to become big. I mean, level of 10 to 15,000 is absolutely comfortable, maybe even ideal, really, because if I had, let's say, 100,000 subscribers, YouTube management will probably delete my channel straight away. But now, because my channel is quite small, they just don't care. And this does allow me to share with you information Russian point of view, and this way you have a choice. You have a Western point of view, and with my channel and with some other channels, English language channels that are based in Russia, you also have a Russian take on different topics on this world. So this is it for now. Have a nice day. I wish you a great and successful week. I wish you a great week, and yes, take care. See you soon.